All right, Gage, I'm going to ask you a few questions, all right?
I'll do my best.
Number one, what are your thoughts on the Vietnam War?
I'm not happy about it at all. I had a number of classmates and a lot of dear friends that were killed in that war. And the atrocities that they experienced and have shared for those that were survivors are also horrible. And the way that the country that sent them there to do a job that they were required to do treated them when they returned was abominable. When Jane Fonda spit on the returning soldiers and other people chanted and treated them so disrespectfully, it breaks my heart.
Do you think the outcome would have, do you think if the outcome had been different, people would have hated it so much?
I don't know that the outcome was the point. I think it was whether we should be there in the first place. And I think that's what the country was upset about, was that they shouldn't have gone to Vietnam.
All right. I'm going to stray from that topic now and ask you one of the other three questions, all right? Um, TV, and do you know any TV shows from that era? What were some of the popular TV shows of
Well, I
that
think a
era?
lot of my favorites were during that period of time. You know, I can tell you that Happy Days was one of my most favorite shows with Fonzie and all the escapades that went on with that particular show. One that was very educational because I never really understood a whole lot about a medical surgical unit and watching MASH during that period of time. It had humor in it and it told, even though it was a fictitious show, it captured real life for these medical people on the war front in South Korea. And it just makes you see how horrible war is and how thankful that we should be as United States citizens that we are not engaged in one. Another show that I liked was Jeffersons and All in the Family. And those were pretty much comedy, and some of them were on the edge at that point in time because one was about an ethnic, the Jeffersons were about ethnicity, and All in the Family was really different with comments where they were calling people names and degrading. Archie Bunker degraded his wife and called his son-in-law meathead, and things that just were not normal or known or acceptable at that point in time.
All right. Can you tell me anything about the music? That's number three, by the way.
I loved music. I still love music. My favorite music were the doo-wop groups from the earlier periods that followed into the 60s, and the music such as Elvis's songs. And then in the late 60s, I got really discouraged with the direction music was going into and went to country western music, and was really following that at that point in time. Just realized recently that a lot of today's music started with country music and went into rhythm and blues and rock and roll and early rap. So
Yeah, well, you know Taylor Swift.
I'm sorry.
You know Taylor Swift?
I know who Taylor Swift
She
is.
started as a country singer.
I know almost everybody did. Elvis did. He started on the
Yeah, it makes sense for him to do that, but I don't know.
Louisiana Hayride. So
Yeah, it makes sense for Elvis to do it. He came from Dixie, but like, I don't know, I just feel like Taylor Swift, not so much.
well, Taylor Swift is unique. So she knows how to um, how to make things happen.
All right. So, what was your perspective on the civil rights movement?
I was totally oblivious to the conditions in the South. I grew up in upstate New York. We were a cash crop farming community for Birdseye. We brought in migrant workers to pick the crops every year. I worked in the summer programs with my school, taking care of the young children of the migrant workers. Um, I did not see any difference in ethnicities at that point in time. To me, everyone was equal. In the late 60s, I actually visited West Point, Mississippi, and became aware of how unfair life was and everything that had happened with different ethnicities at that point in time. Especially, prior to Rosa Parks and then Martin Luther King and their marches and their protests, getting rights for that ethnicity to share the same space and the same communities and the same schools as everyone else, that the segregation be ended.
All right. Thank you for your time. And we are done.